Good morning. Oh, I gotta turn this on. Good morning. Everybody can have a seat. Thank you. Well, yes, let's try that one more time. Good morning. All right, I'd like to welcome you all to the Rush City Education Awards ceremony today. Hopefully you all got a program. If you didn't, you can wave one of our CTAs down, they'll get you one. Welcome to the Rush City Awards ceremony. My name is Joanne Erickson, and I'm the Education Director here. Although I'm fairly new to this facility, it's been inspiring to see the dedication, effort, and resilience of our students and our staff. Today we celebrate the accomplishments of our graduates, men who have committed themselves to learning, skill building, and personal growth. Whether earning a high school diploma, GED, HiSET, or vocational certificate in painting and decorating, or heavy equipment, each of you has worked hard to reach this moment. It's also my privilege today to welcome the graduates of the Stillwater facility. We invited students who graduated from Stillwater programs to join us today because they were able to attend a graduation ceremony due to the phased closure of their facility. Today, I would like to recognize 4 teams of people, and please stand as I talk about you. Our education team, so Rush City and Stillwater education team, will you stand up, please? These are our teachers. Thank you. These are our teachers, our CTAs, librarians who work tirelessly to help our students reach their goals and explore new possibilities. Let's give them another round of applause. You can have a seat. Our tutors, please stand. Our tutors are in the back, 2 rows, and over here in the back rows. Go ahead and stand. These individuals dedicate time to help their peers academically and personally. Facility staff, including Officer Sarah Barwin, who's not here today, and others who support our education team. She's not here today. And our facility and central office team. We have Warden Stenseth, AWO Wachina, AWA Kingsbury, and from the central office, my boss, Shauna Bach. Will you stand up? It's their guidance and encouragement that make achievements and events like this possible. As you can see, education is truly a team effort, and today is a celebration of perseverance, learning, and achievement. Congratulations to all of our graduates. We're going to start with Warden Stenseth giving you a few words of welcome.
Good morning. Thank you, Joanne. Well, today matters. It matters because education is never easy, but it's especially hard in a place that sometimes may feel as it's designed for survival rather than growth. And yet, here you are. You set a goal in an environment with distractions, restrictions, and daily challenges most people never have had to navigate, and you finished what you started. That alone deserves recognition. So today isn't just about a certificate, it's about discipline. It's about choosing long-term progress over short-term comfort. It's about proving to yourself that your circumstances do not get the final say in who you are capable of becoming. Education changes options, sure, it opens up doors, but more importantly, it changes how you see yourself. Skills, knowledge, confidence go with you long, long after today. No one can ever take that away from you. So I also want to recognize our amazing teachers and education staff, who Joanne very eloquently already recognized. Our teaching staff, they offer commitment, they offer consistency and belief in the programs, and especially in you, that make moments like today possible. Our teaching staff help create opportunity, and that truly matters more than they will ever hear. So you, the graduates today. Today is not the end of your journey. In fact, it is proof that you can keep going. Take pride in this milestone. Let it remind you that growth is possible anywhere, and that effort for you and your future will pay off, and it will pay off and compound over time. So with that, congratulations on your achievement. You've earned it. We are proud of you. I am proud of you and your accomplishments. And most importantly, you should be proud as well. So thank you and congratulations.
Next, I'd like to introduce, again, she's my boss, so like really give it for her, all right? Our Director of Secondary Education, Shauna Bach.
Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to say that I have heard our keynote speaker speak several times, so I know what he's going to talk about. So this is like a little appetizer to the themes that you will hear from him. So I'm going to start with a quote by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It speaks to the heart of what today represents. For what it's worth, it's never too late or too early to be whoever you want to be. There's no time limit. You can start and stop when you want. You can change or you can stay the same. There's no rules to this thing. We can make the best of it or the worst of it, but I hope you make the best of it. I hope you live a life that you are proud of, and if you find that you are not, I hope you have the strength to start over again. If there is any group of people who understands the weight and the truth of those words, it's the people sitting in this room today. Because let's be honest with each other, none of you ended up in this room because your life was easy or because you made the right choices at the right times. You're here because something went wrong along the way. A moment, a choice, a mistake, a situation that spun out of control. A part of your story that I'm sure you wish you could rewrite. And the world out there, the world is full of people who like to judge people based on their worst day, their worst choice, and their lowest moments. People often ask me what I do for a job. And I'm really excited to say that I help change people's lives through education. I get to witness moments like this, moments where people have chosen a different path, to claim their own potential and to start over. Sometimes when people hear prison, they stop seeing everything else about a person and just focus on that part. They fail to see your talents, your character, your potential, and your future. But today is proof of something different. Today says you are not your worst moment. You are not the headline in the newspaper or the paperwork that got you here. You are not frozen in the version of yourself that made a mistake. You are allowed to grow, you are allowed to change, and you are allowed to start over. And you did. Sitting inside a classroom, inside a facility, takes courage. Opening a book after years away from being in high school takes courage. Showing up every day, even when it feels heavy, takes courage. Admitting you want something better for your life, that takes more courage than most people ever show on the outside. Education is one of the most powerful forms of freedom there is, and you choose it in a place where most people say freedom does not exist. You prove them wrong. You did something hard. You did something meaningful. You did something that will open doors people once assumed were shut for you. And yes, you're still here, maybe for a short time, maybe for a long time, and you still have challenges ahead of you. This diploma does not melt away your troubles. But you are not the same person you were when you walked through the door. You've changed, you've grown, you've invested in a future that many people didn't believe you had. You've shown yourself and the world that you are more than your worst day. And every day forward, you get to keep proving that. As Fitzgerald wrote, you can change or you can stay the same. There are no rules to this thing. Your past does not disqualify you, your mistakes do not define you, and your future is not canceled, which is exactly what Zach is going to talk about in a moment. You get to decide what happens now. My hope for you today and moving forward is that you live a life you are proud of. Not a perfect life, might not be an easy life, but a true one, a better one, a new one. And if you ever look around and think, this isn't who I want to be anymore, I hope you remember that you have the strength to start over because you've already done it. Congratulations to the graduates. You've earned this, and I'm proud of you.
Next, I'd like to invite our student speaker, who is the tutor of the heavy equipment class, and his name is Matthew Mason.
All right, first off, everybody should get herself a welcome and be proud of yourself for graduating and getting done what has been hard to get done. So everybody get yourself a round of applause. My name is Matthew Mason. I'm a 42-year-old who's been incarcerated since 2014. I'm in the last year of my 18-year sentence. In January 2025, I was transferred to Rush City after being in Stillwater for 10 years. In April of 2025, I signed up for heavy equipment class as a student. Because of my discipline class, Mr. Hyman made it clear I was in the class because of my caseworker vouching for me, Teresa Wallifer. I thank you both for the opportunity, and I thank my teacher for believing in me and giving me the chance. As someone who's been a student and is now a tutor in this program, today means a lot to me. I'm learning more and more every day from the students and the machines that I'm currently working on. I take pride in myself for being able to help others, but more importantly, to be able to ask the current students questions and believe in the answers that they give me and possibly knowing that it's the correct one. My first day of tutoring, I was nervous. Prior to this, I'd only been tutoring myself. Being able to help someone and see the look on their face is one of the reasons I love being a tutor in that class. One thing I learned about being a tutor is there's always something new to learn, and patience is truly a virtue. I never understood what that meant. Going into this journey, my one takeaway that I like to stick by is no person left behind. We all came in together. We all graduate together. Being proud of ourselves is what this is about. When I first started this class as a student, my teacher made it clear an opportunity in that class for my caseworker. And that's one thing that I live by. That's the one thing that I keep telling myself as I'm trying to go forward. Each and every student has the right to be proud of themselves and should. They choose to do something positive, they stick with it, bettering themselves for their future and the futures of their kids. So everyone should be proud of themselves for that. And I would truly like to thank the teachers for taking the time and the opportunity that they're giving us, the security staff that shows up each and every day down there and making sure that we're good. I would like to thank the education directors for giving us the opportunity in that class and for showing up. All in all, I give my praise to my teacher, Mr. H, wherever he is. I don't know where he's sitting at, but I really thank you for taking the time to come in and give us the opportunity. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mason. Now I would like to introduce our guest speaker. Zach Lindstrom, as it says in your program, is the mayor of Mounds View, but he's also a member of the Clemency Board and has a story that I think will be interesting to many of you in this room. I've listened to Mr. Lindstrom before also, and I don't think I need an introduction because by the end I think you'll know him quite well. Let's welcome Zach Lindstrom.
Good morning, everybody. You know, when I hear the graduation music and you know the thing you walked out to, I don't know what the exact name of it is, but do y'all know who the Macho Man is? Macho Man Randy Savage from wrestling, right? That used to be his theme song for coming out, and I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm like, should I do a Macho Man? And I'd be like, I think we're here to talk about a graduation, yeah. Anyways, another thing that typically doesn't happen is I don't usually write myself down stuff to remind, and now I remember why, because I have like this whole sheet and I'm going to be like all over the place, and you know, I'm just really, really grateful to be here today to see all of you. One of the things I like to do is kind of get an idea of who I'm speaking to today. Are any of you only children? Only childs? Wow. You are? Good. Okay. I'm not alone then. Any of you have kids? Yeah? Any of you ever had a relationship with drugs and alcohol? Yeah. All right. I think we're going to have some things in common. My name is Zach Lindstrom. I grew up in western Minnesota, Litchfield to be exact. The biggest building in our town is a grain elevator. So not really a lot to do out in places like that other than apply yourself in school, do good things, or find trouble. So for me, I decided to start using marijuana for the first time. I was in 6th grade. I think I was 12. I remember that day, still to this day, like it was yesterday. I was smoking a joint with my buddies, and I got really high. I remember seeing colors. And then I got Cheese Whiz all over my friend's dad's Impala, and I woke up the next day, and they're like, dude, you need to clean up this mess on this car. And I did, but what I didn't realize is that even at that time, even at the first time I picked up, I was already negotiating things. I was negotiating what could have been a problem for me, because what I didn't know is that drugs show up in urine analysis, and I had to take a physical test for sports, but I ended up passing it because I don't think they were testing 6th graders for drug use. At the age of 14, this would have been putting me in 8th grade now, I decided to start selling to support my habit. That particular year of my life, my mother had got heavily involved in meth. I hadn't seen my father in 6 years, and it got to a place where I couldn't live with her anymore, so I ended up taking a trip down here to the city, went to Stillwater, or actually Oakland Junior High School, for the summer of my 7th grade year. I didn't do very well in school. I was one of these kids that wasn't popular. I didn't really like to apply myself. I kind of like to do what I want to do when I want to do it, and I didn't want anybody telling me anything different than that. So, you know, like when being in small town Minnesota, when they do the teams and you're like the third to last one picked and all of that stuff, that was kind of my experience in school, and I really wasn't all that happy about it. I kind of always had like these identity crisis of trying to figure out where I fit in, who I fit in, you know, what place do I belong, and I really never found that place until I started smoking weed, because then I had some friends, we had some things in common, and you know, that was fun stuff. I decided during my 11th grade year that I was going to, I don't know what came into me or what got over me, but I decided that I wanted to get ready for the rest of my life. So I stopped using, and I actually applied myself in school. I was coming out of my 10th grade year with a .64 GPA. And in 11th grade, when I decided to apply myself, I got a 3.4. I got on the honor roll. I joined sports and did all the stuff. And that particular year, I decided to join the wrestling team. And I don't know if any of you have ever wrestled or not. Yeah. And most kids in Minnesota are wrestling about the same age they start skating, which is probably when they're in diapers. And so walking out onto the mat in your junior year of high school with zero wrestling experience is not a good thing to do. I got put on the varsity and I weighed 161 pounds and I was wrestling 189. So I was giving up 28 pounds every time I stepped onto the mat. I remember the first match I had was against a guy, his name was Tim Kramer, and he was missing teeth. And my teammates were not very supportive because they were taking bets on how long it was going to take him to pin me. And I actually ended up making it into the second period, but I went through that entire year. I lost every match. I didn't get pinned every match, but I lost every match until the section tournament. And then the section tournament, what would have been my last match of the year, I ended up pinning the kid, and I remember this joy that I had and how elated I was. I felt like I had just won this championship, and I remember running and jumping off the mat and just like bear hugging my coach. And you know, that experience taught me a lot about myself, and it taught me a lot about what it takes to succeed in life. You know, I went through the entire year losing, giving up weight, losing. And I just didn't allow that to deter me. I didn't allow it to beat me down, and I kept trying, and I eventually got the win that I was looking for. I then went on after that match to wrestle the kid that would eventually win the section tournament and go on to state, and I only lost by 2 points. I then started doing some wrestling over the summer, and I did really well there, actually. So what happened, though, is when summer hits and you don't have a new friend base established and you don't have new hobbies established, well, what do? We go back to doing what we know. So I started getting high again, and I'm now a senior in high school, and me and my buddies are going to St. Cloud all the time, and I met a girl, and I was in love, right? Because I'm not in the town I'm from. I'm not popular. I'm not well liked. I don't have many friends. And then I meet this girl that I think is way out of my league, and I did the natural thing that you should do when that happens, is I dropped out of school and chased her, moved to St. Cloud. That relationship lasted a year, and I ended up coming back to the Litchfield area. I got a job at a butcher shop, and that's when I really started drinking quite a bit. One evening, I decided I should rewind a little bit. After high school, I got involved in the rave scene, so I was deeply involved in that scene for 2 or 3 years, and at that time I got into DJing because I was still having this identity crisis of trying to figure out what I'm going to do, where I'm going to be, who I'm going to, what my identity is. And I remember going to the first rave party and taking ecstasy for the first time and having like the earphones come off and the whole world around me got bigger and new, and I'm like, I have arrived. This is where I want to be. So I ended up doing that for a period of time there. I didn't have a real home. I kind of couch surfed between St. Cloud, Minneapolis, and Duluth, which then ended up culminating with me coming back home and moving back in with my grandparents. And trying to figure out what I was going to do, and then I end up back in St. Cloud. I met this other girl that was a girl that I went to school with, and I had always crushed on her, and we got together, and I really love this girl, and I really, really love this girl and wanted to marry her. I got the job at the butcher shop. I had some consequences by that time. One evening, I decided that I wanted to, after a hard night of partying and drinking at the strip club, I decided it was time to take a drive and go to Duluth. So I loaded everything I had in my car, which included a garbage bag full of weed, all my alcohol, all my stuff, and I hit the road for what would have been a 4-hour trip. I was blackout drunk. The only thing I remember is hitting 3 raccoons and a skunk and getting pulled over in Waite Park with the police asking me if they could search my car, and they had the canine, so I opted not to give them too many problems, and of course at that point they found everything that was in the vehicle, and I caught a felony drug charge. So then at this point, then I'm back at the butcher shop. I'm on house arrest. I have the thing you blow into. I remember my words, Oreo, cookie, and ocean. I was so committed to my addiction and how I felt about drinking that I would go to work, I'd blow in the thing, I'd say my words, I'd go to work, and I'd come home, and I knew it would ring when I'd get home. I'd blow in the thing, I'd say my words, I'd slam 2 beers because I knew I could drink 2 beers, go back to work, and by the time I got home, it'd be out of my system, and I passed the breathalyzer. And, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're spending your day waiting to drink 2 beers, you're really not in a good spot while you're on house arrest. So I made it through that. I never actually ended up passing AUA. I just was on house arrest so long, they just let me off. And I had a party at my house, and I passed out. And the next thing I know, I wake up and there's police holding a machine gun to my head telling me not to move. Some of the people that were at this party in the house took a gun and went out and shot a cop car, and they did not take kindly to that. That resulted in the helicopter, you know, the whole team, all the stuff, and I got out of jail from that, and the police recommended that I went to go pay my rent, and the landlord told me they wouldn't take my money and they wanted me to move out. My job fired me, and so I had moved in. I had no choice left but to move in with my grandparents. I never wanted to get involved with methamphetamine. When I left Litchfield in 7th grade, it was due to my mom's addiction with methamphetamine. And having lived through that and what that's like and seeing what it does to somebody, I was like, I am never going to do that drug. Well, that didn't last very long. I was living with my grandma at the same time I was living with my uncle who was there. And you know, we have these people in our lives, especially when you're in the drug and alcohol arena, that you can always point to and you're like, this person has the real problem. I'm fine, you know, I've got my own things, but that person, they're the one with the real problem. I mean, look at, they're old, they got kids, they're living with their parents. And you know, it suddenly dawned on me one day that there ain't any difference between me and that person at this given moment other than time, right? I'm looking at what my life will look like if I keep doing what I'm doing because he's showing me in real time what that looks like. I like to party a lot with my uncle, and one day we were drinking Hot 100 with a loaded gun and trying to prove to each other how tough we were by putting the gun in each other's mouths and showing this trust that we're not going to shoot each other. And in one of those instances, he spun the gun around and it went off, and he shot himself in the leg. And the bullet went through his leg and landed right in between my legs and hit the bedpost. And luckily missed me, but at that time he was in really bad shape. I remember picking him up and throwing him in the car and taking him to the hospital. He was so, both of us, but he was so drunk they didn't even administer pain medication because of the amount of alcohol he had in his system. And you would have thought that, you know, at that time I would have recognized that maybe there's something wrong going on here when I have, you know, I was seconds away from nearly being dead myself. I just thought that it was an accident. At the peak of my meth addiction, the girl that I love had left. I was absolutely gutted from that. I spent well over a year in extreme grief and gravitated towards using meth heavily, and I ended up weighing 145 pounds. Right now I'm about 210. And I was in really bad shape. The longest I went was 12 days without sleep. I remember seeing and thinking really crazy things for a lot of time. I ended up going to treatment in Granite Falls at Project Turnabout, and I started to learn about what addiction does and the impacts that it has and the people that it hurts. Because oftentimes when we do these things, we think that we're only hurting ourselves. It's not anybody else's business, you know. But what I realized is that I was an absent son, I was an absent grandson, I was absent for many things. There wasn't anybody I wouldn't steal from to support my habit. I had no real friendships left, and I started to see the pattern of what happens and the relationships that and people that I had hurt along the way, and that's a tough pill to swallow. That's one of the number one reasons that a lot of people fail at sobriety, is because we have this place where we have to go back out, and we have to talk to people, and we have to tell them we're sorry, and we have to do the right thing, and it's hard. You start feeling that guilt, you start feeling that pain, and then you have to start looking at yourself, and we do what we do best. We cope, and we cope with drugs and alcohol because it makes the pain go away. And that's where a lot of people really, really struggle in the sobriety space. But I made it through. I made a lot of amends, and I did all the meetings. I sponsored guys. I got involved at the district. I was a literature chair. I did public outreach. I was on fire. I was doing everything. About 3.5 years in, I met a girl, and I had a sponsor, and I had a very strong sponsor that was very opinionated, that gave me very specific directions, and I met this girl, and he didn't want me to date this girl, so that was the end of our relationship because I decided that I was going to date the girl. And that girl actually coincidentally ended up becoming my wife, and we're still married today. But what happened then is I decided that I didn't need meetings anymore. I had other things going on, and it started again with just thinking that I was like, I just want to be able to smoke weed when I want, just casually once in a while. And it started there, and then it was like, well, I'm only going to do it on the weekends. And then it was like, I'm only going to do it at night. And then it's like, I'm only going to do it. And then it's just pretty much I'm doing it all the time, and I'm doing it at work and all this stuff. And I know that a lot of us, including me, don't feel like weed's a really bad thing because it doesn't hurt anybody, and it doesn't do this, and it doesn't do that. But what it does do is it opens the door to other places and other things, and that's always been the case for me. And I ended up getting into bodybuilding and taking steroids because I was into the next phase of identity crises of trying to figure out who I was in my late 20s and early 30s. And so I did that. I did some shows. I really enjoyed that space. I met some friends, and one of them ended up moving in with me, and that was a really bad decision because that person liked drugs and alcohol as much as I did. And so what resulted in that of that is I got into pain meds, and now I'm doing street oxy, which is fentanyl with blow, and I'm doing, probably $300 to $500 worth of stuff a day, and I've got a kid on the way, and I'm terrified. I don't know how to be a dad. I don't know how to be a husband. I don't know how to do anything. And I had conceded to myself that I'd just be better off dead than continuing on doing this, and my wife would be better off without me. My son was born, and that put things into overdrive. My buddy OD'd, and I got to a place where I'm sitting in my garage and I'm praying for the strength to be able to tell the truth, just to be able to tell somebody what's going on. Because I knew from my prior history and meetings that I was going to die. And I was okay with dying because I was too scared to tell somebody what was going on. And I kept praying, and I got the strength. I called my old sponsor. I told him what was going on, and he's like, "You got to go to treatment." So I made all these plans to go to treatment. I started letting everybody know, and it got to the point where I'm going to tell my wife that I'm going to do this thing, and she says, "You can't leave. I need you here. We have a child we have to raise together." So I bring this back to my old sponsor, and he said, "I can't work with you if you don't go to treatment." And I said, "Well, she's telling me I got to stay home." So that relationship ended. I got a new sponsor, and I did what I thought was the right thing to do. I had success in Alcoholics Anonymous. I did the meetings. I was, connected. I had friends. I was doing things, and so I tried to throw myself back into that as if I was 24, but instead this time I'm 35, and my life is different. I have a kid at home. I have a wife. I have payments. I have responsibilities that I never had when I was young and I was that age, and I was miserable. I was more miserable than I've ever been, and I decided in January of 2018 that I wanted to feel that feeling one more time. So I went out and I picked up, it was actually the day that the Vikings were playing the Eagles in the NFC Championship game, and I did a bunch of stuff Sunday night, and the next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital. It's Tuesday morning. What happened is that I overdosed, and my body started failing. When my wife found me, the dog was licking me on the face, and I was unresponsive. She ran downstairs to get the guy that was living with me, and he came in the room, and he said I was blue. He's like, "I couldn't find your pulse, and you weren't breathing." And so they started giving me CPR until the police came, and then the police came and shoved the vent tube down my throat, and I threw up and aspirated myself, which accelerated my organ shutdown. I guess by the time I got to the hospital, my body temperature was 106 degrees. They were packing me in ice and just waiting to see if I was going to make it. I remember waking up and looking over and seeing my mom sitting in the chair next to me, of whom lived 100 miles away and does not drive to the metro, so I was a little taken aback by what happened, and then she started telling me what is happening. And then they started telling me about, I have a whole room full of family members that are here that want to see you, and one of them was my uncle, and he was sober, and that was the last person I wanted to see. I tried to tell him I didn't want to see him. They let him come in anyways, and that was a very, very sobering moment for me to be the guy that always felt like that dude is the one that has the problem, and here he is sober, and I'm laying there nearly dead. I'd like to say that was the moment that broke my spirit. It was not. What ended up breaking my spirit is I was still in the hospital and got to the place where I needed to go to the bathroom, and I couldn't take care of that myself, and I had to have some help, and that was a really, really humiliating experience, not even to be able to do the basic function of going to the bathroom. And I decided at that point, I'm like, I do not want to do this again. And so I I started doing things differently. I started living in the space that I was in. I started living in the moment, and I started realizing that what I had a number of years ago is never coming back. And I started working with my sponsor and started getting involved in the meetings and started working on things in the present time. And some things happened. My life got better. And I eventually, at some point, decided that I wanted to maybe get involved in helping my community out. So I joined our town festival, which is like, you have your, Minneapolis does the Aquatennial, St. Paul does Grand Old Days, maybe Rush City does Rush City Day, something like that. Ours is Festival in the Park. So I joined that committee. I got involved, and I'm starting to do some stuff and give back to community. I was the president of the AA club, and that was through COVID, and that was a thing. And I got it in my mind that maybe I want to do public service. So I had that old charge on my record, and I'm like, if I'm going to run for office and try to get on city council, I probably better see if I can get this taken care of. And coincidentally, my sponsor had went through the pardon process before, so he was able to tell me how to do it. I filled out the application, and this was during the time of COVID. I sent it in, and it was over a year before I heard anything. And then when I did hear something, they said, we're going to be able to get you on the calendar, we're going to schedule you, you're going to have a hearing, but I can't tell you when. It was another 6 months, and I sat on the Zoom call with the governor, the AG, and the Chief Justice, and I said, if you guys pardon me, I'm going to run for city council. And I remember the governor saying, good on you for wanting to be involved in public service, and the Attorney General was giving me kudos and reminding me that it's okay to have people in your life to help you with this, because I had initially thought that I didn't want to have anybody on there with me, but then eventually I brought something in. And so they pardoned me. I decided that I was going to run. I ran for city council. I busted my tail. I knocked doors every night. I had signs all over the place, and I worked as hard as I possibly could, and there were 2 seats available, and I ended up getting enough votes for the second seat, so I won. And I got seated, and I started doing the work, and the mayor that we had got sick and ended up losing his battle with leukemia, and I decided that I wanted to run for the mayor's seat. So in 2023, and in the general election in 2023, I ran for that seat, and I took 77% of the vote, and I won. And the community gave me the opportunity to be the mayor. And I never thought anything like that would even be remotely close to being possible for being a high school dropout, a felon, been to jail more times than I can count, and now I'm the mayor of this city. And we start doing work. Mounds View was the first city in the state to take on racial covenants and require people to discharge them when they sell their house. We are probably going to have one of the most aggressive affordable housing codes in the state, meaning that we're committed to making sure that people can find a way to have a house they can live in. We're able to get one of our only homeless people off the street after working with her for over a year this week. When the government shut down the food benefits, we rallied around that. Now we're doing a food distribution. We're feeding people with no questions asked. These are things that most cities don't do, but because we have a council and we're aligned on passion and caring, like, we're really making a difference in people's lives. And part of all this, after becoming the mayor, I got a call from the Department of Corrections in 2023, and they're like, there's this bill that's going through the Senate, and it's about clemency, and we know that you've been through the system. And they're like, will you come testify? And I said, sure. And the reason that I got that call, I forgot to mention this, is that once I won the election for city council, I emailed the governor and I thanked him, and I said, you remember me? I'm the guy that said if you pardon me, I was going to do this, and I did it. And the guy handwrites me a letter back, mailed it to my house and said, good on you, look forward to working with you, blah, 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 blah. And so I had sent some other emails with it, which then led to me being on a list of people that he recognized that would be maybe somebody good to come in and talk about this thing. So I went in and I testified in front of the Senate, and the bill passed by 1 vote. And I knew that what was going to happen from that bill is it was going to lead to the creation of this thing called the Clemency Review Commission, which was going to be a citizen-based entity that was going to review and hold all the pardon hearings for the state of Minnesota and make recommendations to the board. And I told them that I wanted to be on that. And the applications opened up, and you were able to apply, and I submitted my application, and I got appointed by the governor. The governor appointed me to be on this thing. In June of last year, we had our first meeting, and we needed a chair. Somebody had to take up the mantle of being the first person to lead this commission and do those hearings, and 8 of my peers unanimously elected me to do that. So now I have the opportunity to serve as the chair of this commission. And maybe politics is my next identity crisis, but I really feel like this is where I belong, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because I really get the chance to help people and make a difference in their lives. And Shauna mentioned that it's never too late or too early to start. I think that was you. And, I didn't get started at doing anything really meaningful until I was damn near, it was over 40, because I've been at it for 3 years. I'm 44, so I was 41 years old when I decided to get involved. And now I'm out there doing it. And, the thing that's made me moderately successful in that arena is what led me to be here today. When somebody calls and they say, hey, can you come? I just say yes. If you can do anything when somebody asks you to help, just say yes. If you just keep saying yes, doors will keep opening. And I know that it's tough to sometimes think about what happens after this and what life looks like outside of here. But I'm telling you, you can do things and you can really make a difference. Like, there isn't any difference between me and you other than I just didn't happen to catch the charge that landed me the chair that would have had me here. But I've had plenty of opportunities to do that. And I'm just so grateful to see all of you here today, having taken the time to get yourself educated, to take those next steps. And, I just encourage you to never lose sight of the fact that anything is possible and you can really do really great things. And it starts with, just saying yes to the next person that needs help. So I'm really grateful to be here today. I'm grateful for Joanne asking me to speak, and I'm grateful for seeing all of you, and I hope you have a great holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Next on our agenda is the acknowledgement of tutors and clerks, which we did earlier. So I thought what I would do instead is encourage our graduates to think about becoming tutors and clerks in our education program. We are always looking for people who are willing to help people in our program, and maybe it's not completely academically. We love to have strong academic skills, but we also need people who can help encourage our men to persevere, to get things done, and to move on with their education. So I want to put a plug in for you to maybe apply and think about becoming a tutor or a clerk. If If you want to talk to any of these fine men out here who have been helping us, that's amazing. We do have some certificates. Are we doing that right now for the clerks? We'll wait. We have some certificates. We'll be back. We are going to present awards, and then we will do the tutor awards. So first, if we could have all of the education staff come up from Stillwater and from Rush City. We're going to start with ABE graduates. Come on forward. I was supposed to do the clerks, wasn't I? Am I supposed to do the clerks and tutors? Okay, all right, so someone's going to have to hand out diplomas. Go ahead, Wendy. All right, as we read your name, we would like you to come forward, grab your diploma, and then you get to shake everybody's hand and then come back to your seat. Yeah, it's intense. We get it. Yeah, it's a long line. All right, so we're going to start with Daniel Adams. Not here. Do I have a list of who is here? No, that's okay. I'll just keep naming them off. Farah Ahmed. Nigel Blackburn. Jerry Bryant. I don't think that Mr. Calzada Rousset is here, so we'll go to Jose Chapa Aguilera. Nope. Jamie Chase, I don't think is here. Arance Chia. Nice job. Yeah, nice job. Alfonso Cato. D'Angelo Dampier. Charles Dobbins. Garrett Dorsher. Adrian Fletcher. Prince Gayakpar. Justice Glaspie. Derek Holmes. Jeffrey Kazmarzik. Tevin King. Jeffrey Lowe. Mitchell Merchant. Lindsay Mitchell. Maston Parkhurst Thompson. Lavelle Piggy. Derek Rothmeyer. Jeffrey Smith. Dustin Tinklenberg. Donovan Wesley and Orky Zayachik. All right, let's give all of our ABE graduates one more round of applause. All right, we're going to move on to our painting and decorating and heavy equipment students. I think so. I don't know. These guys are staying, so let's stay. We just added a few more to the handshaking line for you guys. Okay, got them? Yep, there we go. We're going to start with the Principles of Painting certificate with Christopher Loving. Painting and decorating diploma, Lincoln Caldwell. DeAndre Jackson and Ashir Kimbrough. Heavy equipment certificates. Laban Dahir. Did I say your first name? Linnell Ellison, Ellison. Kanari Harper. Matthew Mason. And Lyndon McKinney. We also have some certificates for our library clerks. Vern Muel, 7 years as a library clerk. Chief of the library. Nicholas Furcus, 2 years in the library. Congratulations. And Ryan Lidberg, 1 year as a library clerk. Congratulations. And we have an Education Tutor Award for Doral Young. Shauna, do you want to come up and confirm? Okay, we're going to confer your degrees. So we're going to start with the ABE group. If you would stand up, please. Here you go. Right here.
All right. Confer is just a fancy way to say, let's make it official. All right. The Minnesota Correctional Facility at Rush City, with full recommendation of the Education Unit Appointing Authority, the facility warden, the education director, and the faculty, and by virtue of the authority vested in the Minnesota Career Education Center by the state of Minnesota, confers upon you a secondary diploma with all its rights, privileges, and obligations, given the 9th day of December in the year 2025. Congratulations, graduates. You can move your tassel from right to left. All right, you guys can sit down. I will give you a chance to throw your cap in a moment. If you received your heavy equipment or painting and decorating certificate, if you could stand up. Century College, with a full recommendation of its president and faculty, and with a full recommendation of the warden, the education director, and faculty of Minnesota Correctional Facility Rush City, and by the virtue and authority vested in the Minnesota Career Education Center by the state of Minnesota, confers upon you a post-secondary career and technical education certificate with all its rights, privileges, and obligations, given on this 9th day of December in the year 2025. Congratulations, graduates. Please move your tassel from right to left. Left to right, I don't know. Move it from one side to the other side. And if we could have all the graduates stand up so we could offer one more round of applause for everyone who earned something today. And now if you want to throw your hat gently in the air, go ahead.
All right, now is time. This concludes our ceremony. We do have some snacks, juice, coffee, water in the back, and Ms. Schmidt is here. If you want to have your picture taken with your certificate, the line has to keep moving kind of quickly. So where are you going to be, Ms. Schmidt? All right, so when you want your picture taken, you can go that way, and then once you have your picture taken and have a snack, make sure you turn in your cap and gown and your certificate portfolio, and that's all we have for today. Thank you very much.